Good afternoon and welcome to another exciting episode of Entab presents CampusCare EdTalks, a platform where top educators express their viewpoints on burning topics related to education. Standards establish the learning goals and help the students to understand the objectives of education and chalks out the path they must achieve to higher in life. With changing times, these standards must be revised and redefined to suit the requirements of the age. To talk more about aiming for higher standards in students' achievements, we have with us an educator who constantly explores the opportunity that can enhance the productivity of her students. She strongly believes in collaboration and leadership. She has developed a value education program which has been adjudged at the best school practice by UNESCO and NCRT in 2017. She was also a CBSE CCE mentor. For her recommendable work in education field, she has been conferred with Endeavour Executive Award from the Australian government. She is also the recipient of Avantika Shiksha Samman. With this note, I would like to welcome Dr. Himanshu Sharma ma'am to Entab CampusCare EdTalks. Welcome ma'am.
Thank you, Kavleen. I'm grateful to Entab for providing me an opportunity to express my views on a very relevant topic, aiming for high standards in student achievement. Thank you very much. It's a great honor.
Welcome ma'am. And to all our viewers watching out there, if you've not subscribed to our channel, please do hit that subscribe button and click that bell icon for regular updates. So welcome ma'am. So ma'am, when we talk about enhancing the standards of students' performance, it is important for educators to put themselves in the students' shoes and then analyze their situation. What are some of the key things that you would like to advise the schools?
All right. Well, standards of student performance define what a child should know and be able to do. But see what is happening in present context. Presently, the marks set the standards for student performance. Higher the percentage of marks, higher is the standard of student performance. This is the current scenario. And the kind of paper pen exam culture we have is that of term end exams and the year end exams, which mainly test rote memorization skills. So these exams are actually putting the students to a very fearful and stressful situation. Now, as educators, we need to understand that examination is not at all the ultimate goal of education. Also, we need to realize that there are a number of factors that are affecting the performance of a child, and each child is different. A child is having different learning needs, different learning abilities. So, this one size fit all model of routine examination won't work. See, what is our system of school education like? We are teaching and then testing, then again teaching, then again testing, and that also with a paper pen test. The child gets marks or grades, but what do these marks tell about the learning? Nothing at all. The children and parents simply look at the score and either feel very happy if they did very well, or feel sad or depressed if they are not able to score well or not even able to pass that exam. So mostly these kinds of assessments are associated with some kind of fear psychosis or stress. So what we do is assessment of learning. Rather, I would say assessment of ability to memorize. But where is learning taking place? In these kinds of assessments, we only get to know the grade or the marks, but we do not know what went wrong. What were the shortcomings of the learnings? So, what the schools need to do, as you have asked in your question, I feel schools need to give more emphasis on school based assessments, which the school based assessment is a system of integrating assessments into teaching learning process. The new education policy also recommends this school based assessment. So, let me tell you more about this school based assessment. This assessment is an add on to the existing system of assessment and is conducted by the teacher and students for qualitative improvement of student performance. So, before conducting assessment of learning, our so called final examination, we need to carry out assessment for learning and assessment as learning. I hope I'm not sounding too technical with these jargons.
No, ma'am, no,
So,
ma'am.
this assessment for learning would mean that teacher carries out assessment while teaching. And often students may not even know that they are being assessed. So, it is also not necessary to carry out assessment of all children on the same day, and it is also not necessary to assess all students using same task. It can be through a number of modes like written task, of course, oral assessment, observation, projects, or any other mode. So, the basic purpose of assessment for learning is to diagnose the instructional effectiveness. It gives evidence to the teacher about their own teaching, whether the learners are learning or not, where they need to go, and how to get there. In other words, I would say that it focuses on how students are learning. The information gained through this type of assessment can be used by the teacher to direct the process of teaching. For example, like a class one student is given any assessment task and of doing solving some mathematical problems, and this child is given 7 marks out of 10 as she did a few questions wrong. So, assessment for learning means that the teacher will also give qualitative feedback to the child that she is able to perform single digit addition and multiplication, but is not able to multiply double digit numbers. So, this way, teacher has informed herself also. Maybe she is required to reteach the concept that the child did wrong. You got it?
Yes.
So, this is assessment for learning. Next is assessment as learning. In this type of assessment, even the students are involved in the process of assessment. It can be self assessment or peer assessment. Again, I would explain with an example. For example, the teacher is giving a writing task to the class. So, the teachers and the students, what they can do is they can collectively decide the criteria of assessment and like what are they looking for in that task. So, after the task is completed, the writing draft can be assessed by the students. They can exchange their sheets, so this way, not only they will assess their task, but they will also learn from each other. So when we are involving the students in assessment, it becomes a moment of real learning for them because they come to know, okay, I could have done this, I did this wrong, this could have been done in a better manner. So student learning is the prime focus of such assessments. Now, one more thing is there lastly. Teachers can keep a record of such assessments, but it is not at all important to project them in the report cards. This is very important to be understood. And it was the mistake done in CE. There, the teachers misunderstood assessments as frequent testing and then recording, testing and recording. It was such a burdensome exercise for the teachers as well as students. Whereas required was that those assessments were used to fill the learning gaps. So, if learning, teaching, and assessment will happen together at school level, then children will become more responsible for their learning, will not have fear of examination, and this would ultimately raise their standards of student performance, I would say. I hope I made myself clear to you.
Yes, ma'am, yes. And we completely agree with you because we were from that generation. We were where we were just tested and we waited for the marks, and that's it. We did not really go beyond that. But today you've
Right.
explained it very clearly that what more could happen. So, ma'am, as we all know that we live in this global interconnected world, the students have to prepare themselves for competing the international at the international platform. So, how can the skills and competence of Indian students be polished for the global challenges and the opportunities that lie out there?
Well, definitely, Kavlin. The 21st century is altogether a different era. It is the era of globalization. And to survive in this era, what the students need? Of course, they need to be globally competent. They need to learn how to face the diversity. So, the schools need to equip its students with certain skills, such as very important collaboration, communication, problem solving, and ability to think critically. Now, for this to happen, what is required? Of course, the curricular programs of the school need to be designed in a manner that promote these skills. So for that, like we can definitely make use of the activities, some very interesting activities, project based learning, model United Nations month, which they call surveys, group discussions, debates. These all need to be included in the curriculum. Model United Nations. I'm very fan of this activity because this gives the child lot. It empowers the children a lot. They are able to think critically, and it enhances their confidence, their like all the skills, collaboration, critical thinking, everything, communication skills. So, along with this, interstate school exchanges, international school exchanges, and field visits should also be encouraged so that children learn to live in diversity with all the essential values. And here I am just recalling one very novel initiative by the Ministry of Education in our country. You might also have heard about that. That is Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat project. So this has been launched by our Honorable Prime Minister of India. So it is a very unique step towards building the global competence, where children are made to learn about language, culture, and other aspects of the paired state. The states have been paired, and then the children are asked to do activities related to each other's states. So I would again mention that this latest national education policy is all set to bring out much needed reformation in education, and it is focusing on preparing the students to survive in the global world.
Yes, ma'am. But as we are speaking about the national education policy, as we all know that the national education policy has accommodated areas that can enhance students' performances, but the implementation still lies in the hands of the school. So, how are you planning to work on the given instructions?
Very true. This national education policy is indeed a student centered policy that has been accepted widely with a positive note. And this is going to be a radical revolution in the history of Indian education. Well, for the successful implementation of this policy, first of all, it needs to be understood deeply and in true spirit by all the stakeholders. So, presently in our school, we are training our teachers and ourselves also for various aspects of national education policy. See, there are so many things. Art integration is there, experiential learning is there. Teachers need to learn to design learning outcome based lesson plans. They also need to work on integrating assessments with teaching. The way I was explaining to you in your very first question, that is very important. Then they are also learning to set questions as per Bloom's taxonomy in the question papers. Because if we improve the standard of our question papers and shift from traditional memory testing, then the quality of teaching is also going to improve. See the CBSE sample paper, it is altogether on new pattern. The level of the question has been raised to that of a higher order thinking skills. Assertion type questions are there, reasoning and case study type questions are there. So the teachers have to have a deeper understanding of all this. Students have to be trained for that, exposed for that. So every week we are holding meetings of different wings where the teachers are presenting their learnings to their colleagues and receiving ideas and suggestions for implementing the recommendations of new education policy. See, nowadays it is very easy, like the way we both of us are communicating. I don't have to travel to your place to just have a seminar. So we are making use of the technology, and through that platform, the teachers are exchanging their presentations.
Oh.
And not only this, we may also be required to educate and convince parents and public in general regarding these new initiatives of this policy. For example, the use of technology in teaching and learning. It is going to become the need of the hour. Teachers will be required to integrate this technology in their routine teaching and assessment practices. So we have started taking steps in this direction.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree that technology is a very essential part of our lives. And, ma'am, as we know, schools and teachers play a very significant role in shaping the child's life. But this role remains incomplete without effective communication between the parents. What can be done to strengthen this bond between the teachers and parents? What steps should be followed? And speaking about technology, you can also add this technological aspect to this.
Yes, parents are, of course, the first teachers of a child, and so the education of the child has to be the joint responsibility of the teachers and parents. So both of them have to work in synchronization. So there has to be no communication gap. Frequent interaction has to be there, and parents need to partner with the school and its programs. Like in parent teacher meetings, when discussing the performance of an individual student, the shortcomings should not be presented as complaints. Like the teacher should not only be complaining about the limitations of the child, rather the teacher should provide expert professional advice to the parents, and then parents should also provide appropriate feedback about the attitudes and behavior of their child to the teachers so that a joint plan can be worked out. And also, schools should search for occasions other than parent teacher meetings for involving the parents in the school. And of course, here we can very well take help of the technology. We can have these parents speaking to the children, addressing the children. Parents can come to the class live or maybe recorded versions. They can give motivational talks to them. They don't have to travel to the school for that. Secondly, like we can have parent feedback, quick and instantaneous feedback we can have about our any event or any program. So that would be a great help to bridge that gap.
Yes, ma'am. Rightly said, rightly said. Communication is really important. But, ma'am, when we talk about the children are often ridiculed for not performing. And later it is seen that they are motivated and they lack encouragement. So, this is an issue that often affects the teenagers because they are so distracted. So, what approach should parents and teachers take together to adopt to bring the best out of these students?
What you are talking about is a very relevant and a hot issue in the homes. Like first of all, we need to come out of certain syndromes like perfectionist syndrome which we are suffering from, or the right answer syndrome, and learn to accept our child. This is very, very important. We should not consider the child as a numeric score 90%, 95%, 100%. And then we must also keep in mind that toppers of exams are not always the toppers of life. We can look around ourselves. This is true. So academic excellence alone is not going to help in future times. ये जो marks की race है, number ही सब कुछ नहीं है, number ही जिंदगी नहीं है. We have to understand, and we have to make our child also understand. The job scenario has started to change. So the schools may need to educate the parents to see what is good about their child, his interests, strong points, encourage him or her for that. See, हमारे जो marks हैं, they are lying in the certificates. Nobody is coming to know. Nobody is able to judge what you scored in your school, what I scored in my school or college. But what I am, how I am dealing with you, how I am dealing with a particular situation. Am I able to collaborate? Am I able to respond appropriately? These are the skills which will be required. Secondly, we must stop comparing and labeling children on the basis of marks. And luckily, we are going to overcome such problems with the successful implementation of new education policy because it is going to take care of these issues very minutely. For example, it is emphasizing skill based education, flexibility to the child in choosing the courses, and also providing multiple chances to appear in an examination. So, Now, we also need to change our mindset, the parents and the teachers. And we have to understand and value the individuality of a child and constantly provide support so that the child is also able to realize his or her potential.
I completely understand this, ma'am. I completely, and I really hope that your message is going to the right ears. Ma'am, as we were talking about parents, we spoke about students. Teachers' training is also an indispensable part. We assess students' achievement. For example, COVID was a very tough situation for school education system in India. Ma'am, what approach should schools adopt to prepare our teachers for the upcoming challenges?
Of course, COVID time is a challenging time for us. But one thing which this time has taught us is that every teacher is a learner first. So, here I would first of all like to appreciate the entire teaching faculty of our school. They could navigate this time so well, working from home, switching from normal teaching practice to remote teaching, creating digital lesson plans, and finding new ways to connect with the students. So, schools need to sustain the learner instinct of the teachers, needs to update the teachers with the relevant information about what is happening in their field, and then motivate them, inspire them, empower them, and above all, have faith in them. They will do it.
Yes, ma'am, there is
So,
nothing
it is
what a teacher
possible.
can't do. Yes, ma'am, it is possible.
They have shown it. The teachers have already proven it everywhere in the world. The learning is continuing. There is no lockdown on learning, and this is just because of the resilience of the teachers, because of their positive attitude, because they accepted this challenge.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I completely agree with you. And as I said, there is nothing what a teacher cannot do. That is completely agreeable. So, ma'am, before we come to the end of this session, do you have any message for our educational system, the parents, our viewers out there? Any message for them?
Mm, in my opinion, what I would say is schools are the centers of learning and should never reduce to examination centers. शिक्षा का केंद्र है, वही बने रहिए, परीक्षा केंद्र ना बनकर रह जाएं. और हमें ये समझना है that our objective is to place the child well in life. Our aim is not just to make him pass the exam. So let us all work to make them happy and valuable citizens of not only this country but of the globe. This is what I would like to say.
Yes, ma'am. With educators like yourself, we will actually shine and conquer the globe. I completely agree with you. And with this, I would like to thank you for joining us at today's Ed Talks. And for all the viewers out there, please subscribe to our channel and click on that bell icon for regular updates. I hope you've already subscribed. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Kaplin. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The pleasure is all ours. Thank